Hello and welcome to Nerdarchy. For nerds, by nerds. I'm Nerdarchy Dave, and today I'm joined by this nerd.
Nerdarchy Ted, how are you doing this fine and lovely evening, sir?
I'm doing well. You might have to carry a lot of the talking tonight just because I have this terrible cough that no one really needs to listen to.
Well, I will endeavor to do my best. Tonight, we're talking about Minecraft creatures. There's a free little supplement with 5 stat blocks over on D&D Beyond, and you can go and check it out and see what, if any, you want to add to your game. Uh, I totally was on track for a different topic. So I literally just finished reading them about 12 seconds ago. So I think there's a lot here to unpack. When I go ahead and pull up the creatures, you get a blaze, you get a creeper, you get an ender dragon, you get an enderman, and you get the wolf of the underworld. Now, while I myself have never played Minecraft, my son was into it for a very long time, plays Minecraft Dungeons. So like he has talked to me a lot about these different things, and he was just kind of reading over my shoulders to like talk about like, oh yeah, this thing here makes sense and those stats make sense. So as a both a D&D player and a Minecraft player, he gives the thumbs up to them. So
You brought in an expert, is what I'm hearing.
I don't know if that's enough credibility to it, but it's there.
Well, yeah, all of like our nephews and our kids play Minecraft or into it. Like even my son still plays Minecraft, and he's like in his early 20s. And also, like I don't know, some of you folks might remember Nate the Nerdarch. And I remember him running D&D games for his kids using Minecraft. It's kind of like I guess kind of like the tabletop as the VTT.
Mhm.
Not actual VTT, probably more like more like his version of minis and stuff.
Right.
I actually like the supplement looking through it, because I think like me and you were kind of like we're like stat junkies, right? So like we like to see different stat blocks. And like with this one, they do some interesting things that are different from a lot of the monsters we've already seen, and also
Yes.
a lot of them, you know, very much like Minecraft. When you defeat them, they leave something behind,
And
right?
that's one of the things that I was going to point out. So first and foremost, I love looking at new stat blocks because when new creatures come out and they have some new interesting thing that I might not have thought of, or in some rare cases when it's like, oh, I've done that kind of thing with monsters I've created, I feel a little vindicated.
Yeah.
Uh, I like seeing like, okay, well, if I take this thing from here and that thing from here, I know Dave has talked many times that he has pulled up 3 different monster stat blocks to kind of on the fly assemble what creature it is that he's throwing against the party. And I like doing that kind of stuff as well. So
So like kind of like the big picture, real quick though, is like you mentioned, we've got creatures, 5 different creature types: elemental, monstrosity, dragon, aberration, beast, and they range from a quarter CR all the way up to a 19 CR. You mentioned not being very impressed with our 19 CR.
so right, if you want to jump into the Ender Dragon, I was kind of look at them in order.
Yeah, we
The
can look at them in order. I was just giving the range.
Oh, sure, sure. So So when I look at the blaze, I mean, all of the things are described looking very much like they would in Minecraft. So you've got very blocky kind of appearances, but there's nothing to say that if you didn't want that look, that you couldn't adjust to a more, you know, spherical or thing where curves exist. Um, but a lot of them, as Dave pointed out, says that there's some kind of possible drop. So when a blaze drops, there's a 50% chance of leaving behind a glowing rod worth 100 gold. The rod itself sheds dim light in a 5 foot radius. But as an action, you can attempt to snap the rod with a DC 14 strength check. And if you do, every creature within 5 feet has to make a dexterity saving throw or take a die 12 fire damage, or half as much if you succeed on the check. So
I would imagine including the person breaking the rod.
yeah,
Yeah, because it doesn't say they're
everything
excluded.
it does not say everything is excluded. Uh, but so right there, like in the stat block, it has created an item with mechanics, and it's got a drop rate, and that in of itself is awesome. There's not a whole lot of times that you see that kind of thing. The fact that it comes from a video game is like, oh, well, that makes a lot of sense. When you look down below, it also has water susceptibility, which means for every 5 feet it moves in water, every gallon of water splashed on it, or whenever it starts to turn in the rain, it takes 1 point of cold damage. Which, that's a different way of doing, a vulnerability type thing. So I kind of like that. So like if you've got, an alchemy jug and you're just going to keep dumping water on something, like, all right, well, here's a way that you can turn that to your advantage.
I like the fact that it flies, but only straight up. So essentially, levitate.
Yes. Because it can rise higher into the air to gain better vantage point, to unleash his fiery doom, which is its attack. And actually, as a challenge 5, it can make 3 fiery doom attacks. The attacks do a die 10 plus 3 damage, and if it hits a target that can be set on fire, it is.
Yeah, I mean, like these stat blocks are really nice if you want to reskin them because they have some interesting things to them. As a challenge 5, this is actually a pretty decent monster.
Mhm.
It gets a decent amount of attacks. It has an aura, so if you just get close, it'll take damage. The water susceptibility is kind of interesting. It's got some immunities. It's got some resistances. And it just adds a different element to the game. The whole blaze rod thing is really cool as well. I like it when you know creatures like this can incorporate stuff like that into the game where defeating it gives the player something cool, non-standard treasure.
And I've never actually seen a blaze in game to really know like how they actually function. Uh, but as an elemental creature, it's kind of nifty. And if a blaze rod wants to make it in, start making an appearance in games, that could be kind of cool to look at. Creepers, I always find incredibly weird because they've got this like elongated body and these itty bitty little 4 legs. Uh, but they're a monstrosity. They're a challenge half, and like I was looking at that, it's like, all right, where does it say it here? But its destructiveness makes it one of the greatest threats to both life and property in the overworld. And I'm like, all right, it's got to be because of the fact that they just sense life and blow up, and not, and because of numbers, not because of like how powerful they are. They're a challenge half and only have 19 hit points, so you can stay away from them. You should be fine, right?
Yeah, but they are walking bombs. Like
And that and
they're great to throw in as like an extra, like just more like hazard monsters, really.
mhm.
Like mephits. Like I love mephits because the best part of mephits is when the players kill them, bad stuff happens to the players. So it creates this. They're just like a nuisance monster.
All right, so you get mephits, creepers, and draconians, and that's the campaign, right?
Yeah, just stick them all in one room with the players. One of them dies, creates a chain reaction, and everything in the room gets nuked.
So we already have an aspect of things that exist in D&D that have that. Well, upon death, bad things happen. So this is just nothing new, but these things actually can't do anything to you except blow up. So they've got bizarre physiology. The creeper can't take actions except for dash, disengage, hide, and search. It can't take bonus actions or reactions.
It
So,
just chases you around, hissing at you until it blows up.
so when it ends its turn within 10 feet of a humanoid that it can see, the creeper stops moving and emits a hiss loud enough to be heard by creatures within 30 feet. If the creeper drops to 0 hit points before the next turn, the hissing stops and the creeper dies. Otherwise, at the start of the creeper's next turn, it basically goes and tries to find something else. So it's just a time bomb, and it waits until there's something there, and it wants to blow up and die, or die and blow up. So
Did
there.
it Kobold Press, don't they have frogs like that? I'm pretty sure I used them at one point. Is all they want to do
It
is
is
explode.
it is entirely possible. I mean, there are 4 300-page books. I I don't have them all. I know I'm working on an article where like I have to get back to it, but there's like I went through all the books and pulled out all of like the frog related things.
Uh-huh.
Like kind of make
As you
meant
do.
as you do, because I mean, my daughter loves frogs, and I'm here for it. So
So I mean, the other thing about creepers though, they do force damage. So it's
they
like a
do force,
fireball. It's like a fireball with force damage.
right?
A small one.
But they fear cats. So the creeper has the frightened condition whenever it starts its turn within 60 feet of a cat that it can see. Anything that would be feline.
Yeah.
Uh,
Would you apply that to leonines and tabaxis?
I would. I would say anything that's cat or cat-like would be feline to me. It doesn't
Use.
say house cat, lion, tiger. It says feline.
I can see using like a tabaxi or a leonin creeper herders, and you use them just to herd the creepers around, and it's specifically at the players.
Oh, that would be funny. So off topic, Wesley Halls says that they got their Mage Forge and they're enjoying. So I'm glad you got yours. Glad you're enjoying it. I've seen a couple people sharing out in the wilds that they've gotten theirs, and that's awesome to hear that it's showing up and that it's going to be appearing in games.
Yeah, hopefully they show up in a lot of games.
I know my cards made an appearance at my gaming table last night.
Indeed, indeed.
So the next up is the aforementioned Ender Dragon. It's a gargantuan dragon, has an armor class of 22. Pretty awesome, pretty high. 350 hit points, which is high for a lot of challenge 19 creatures. And considering the aftermath of this kind of thing, that the fact that it can kind of heal based on where it's located, definitely makes this thing a beast. Although it's really a dragon. It's got a speed of 120, so it can move really fast.
Yeah, I would say that the biggest thing is that we pointed out was the fact that it doesn't do a lot of damage, right? Because unless you're using the breath weapon, which then it does a decent amount, 15d6, nothing to sneeze at in a 60-foot cone. But I would say though the beating wings, while it doesn't do much damage, it is a pretty cool control effect.
Yes. So it makes one bite attack and uses the beating wings. So the bite attack is only doing 3d6 plus 8 piercing and 2d6 necrotic. The beating wings is a DC 21 saving throw, or take 1d4 plus 8 bludgeoning damage. Be pushed 10 feet away and prone. So if you're 10 feet away and prone, all right, so you got to use half your movement to stand up. If you've got a typical 30, you used 15, you can still walk the other 10 feet. So it's not that big a deal, but it's every creature within 15 foot of the dragon. So it gets everybody to push back.
And also, like, if you're the DM, you would use that first and try and knock them prone. So then you can use your bite attack that has a 15-foot reach. So, chances are you can easily still get to everyone without moving. But even if you had to move, there's plenty of movement there to get around to bite somebody.
So, as noted, when the Ender Dragon dies, it drops, or when it drops to 0 hit points, it radiates beams of purple light and then disappears, leaving behind an inert jet black dragon egg worth 5,000 gold. So that's pretty fancy. Now it's up to you in your world as to exactly what this means. Is this an egg to make another Ender Dragon? Is this like called an egg because it happens to be egg shaped, but really just like a really valuable gems. So you can go in either direction.
The Air Croaker is going to have to sit on it.
But the pillars that the Ender Dragon happens to be around, uh, each of them has like an end crystal on it, and it's like essentially it's got crystal healing, so that when the Ender Dragon ends its turn within 60 feet of a crystal, it essentially regains 20 hit points. It can only do it once per turn, so like the players would have to like find these things and destroy them. And there's stats for how to do so. It's got an AC of 11, 30 hit points. And when vulnerability to bludgeoning and thunder damage, but it resists piercing, slashing, and poison and psychic.
They also explode when you break them. So
And yeah, it does 6 force damage.
So I think that's like part of the challenge too. Is like that maybe they're factoring in is that you're going to encounter it near these crystal towers, which are going to make it even tougher to defeat because if it's healing 20 points of damage every round, which isn't significant, but it's enough to neutralize maybe one attack or lessen one attack that the players have already done.
If you take 5 rounds, that's another 100 hit that this creature has, and if you don't do anything, if no play, like if you don't describe it in a way that they might see that happening, they might fight 3 rounds and not realize that the dragon is healing. So like that's 60 there. Then they have to figure it out. Then they have to actually do enough damage to break these things. And if you make it tricky that they're not a viable target, that you actually have to get on top of this 40-foot, pillars to then get them and what have you, then it can be, even more of a challenge. Meanwhile, these things are, trying to knock you off the pillar and hitting you with their breath weapon. So if you play this very tactically, it can be absolutely crazy. And if memory serves, when my son was playing Minecraft and having to fight an Ender Dragon, he says it's a slog. You're not going to just sit there and be like, okay, pew, 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 and it's gone. It's a fight. And you play this thing, as the DM tactically, you can absolutely cause that to happen with,
I think it just creates for some more interesting scenarios. And,
yes.
And more than likely you're going to take damage just trying to keep it from healing. So that's kind of cool. Parks is asking about the creepers. Do they drop gunpowder? No. But they do drop their heads that you can then wear. But
yes,
it doesn't do anything. But it doesn't actually do anything.
Although, like,
it is creepy though.
It is creepy, and I might, if I were to use these things and I were to do it, I would give them the masks almost like a life presence mask. So creepers would make it look like, or to a creeper, you might just be another creeper. And that could kind of give you some protection.
Or if you maybe if you're having them make deception checks, you give them advantage or something of that nature.
Yeah. But something to give them a way of bypassing creepers, and you screw up and there's going to be a lot of boom.
Yeah. Well, yeah. You imagine like they have to get to something, and there's like hundreds of creepers in the way.
Yes.
So.
The fourth thing, and this is the Enderman, and this is an aberration. It's a challenge 6. And this thing has the ability to basically evasively teleport. And to me, this is one of the most exciting things that was here, because it can use a reaction to teleport away, including against a ranged attack that hits. So you basically hit, and he's like, nope, got out of the way first. So like it actually just poofs. Hold on a second. No, it's no action required. So it doesn't,
no action.
That's even more powerful. It just teleports all over the place. And then when you kill this thing, there is a chance that it drops an Ender Pearl, which is worth 500 gold pieces, and essentially it's a pearl that you can throw up to 20 feet away, and you teleport to wherever it lands. So it's a cool kind of like uh Misty Step.
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff like that in there, but also there's no limit.
Other than that,
There's no limit on the invasive teleport. So if the party keeps targeting it with different ranged weapons or with ranged attacks,
it just keeps
it's just gonna keep teleporting and avoiding the attacks.
Indeed. Unless the incapacitated, it can keep teleporting. And then the last thing is basically Wolf Underworld. Um, and there's nothing in the stat block that really makes me see anything of note. But I will say that
It's basically a wolf. The lure is actually the cool part.
yes, yeah. So wolves hunt in packs, roaming their territories, chasing blah 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 blah. They can be tamed by adventurers who feed and look after them. Tamed wolves follow their masters everywhere they go. They regard animated skeletons as enemies and attack them without hesitation. Even tamed wolves, which obediently hold themselves back from attacking natural prey, freely charge at skeletons unless they are commanded to sit.
Yeah, I like the fact that they have a vendetta against skeletons. It makes sense. Dogs like bones. They're made of bones. They're just big chew toys.
So all in all, there's not a huge amount of stuff that's here, but what is here is a lot of fun and takes things in several different directions that you can use to either like hack apart and use the pieces that you want, or like totally run a whole cloth Minecraft style game.
Yeah, well, there's D&D. There's D&D mods for Minecraft as well. So you might even be able to intertwine and incorporate the two. And I mean, I like seeing when D&D does these kind of crossovers. Like I really enjoyed the Rune Terror one that they did. Unfortunately, it was very short lived, but it was a very cool idea.
Oh yeah.
And if you, I think as long as you have a free D&D Beyond account, you can just claim it and you just add it to your repertoire. And they're doing more and more stuff like that. So I feel like even just a free account's pretty useful because they keep giving stuff away over there. And to be clear, D&D Beyond used to be a sponsor, but they've not been a sponsor of ours in quite some time. Matter of fact, we received exactly one check from Wizards of the Coast after they took over D&D Beyond for work we had already done. But they would not have chosen to hire us otherwise.
But if you're looking to support a sponsor, the sponsor for these chats is our lovely friends over at Easy Roller Dice. So I believe we've got a whole sign up here somewhere that says powered by Easy Roller Dice. One of my friends in the game last night actually was using Easy Roller Dice and dropped 3 natural 20s in a row.
We can disclaimer: we cannot guarantee you'll drop 3 natural 20s in a row.
No.
Also, his rolls after that were ass. So the next 3 were really bad, but those 3 20s were sweet. Of course, luckily he used them for nothing useful.
I mean, he got one of those was actually an attack roll, but it is what it is.
Yeah, there's a promo code in the description for that. You can check it out. Also, I just threw the link in there for the D&D Beyond, so you can go claim the Minecraft thing. Like I said, like even if you're not interested in the Minecraft aspect, there's cool mechanical stuff in there that you can take and just like slap into your games and make your own monsters or reskin those monsters and use them for things. The Enderman is cool. The Blaze is cool. The Creeper is cool. They're all like low level monsters that work really easy. The wolf is kind of meh. It's just it's essentially a wolf.
Right.
And then the dragon's super high level, so it becomes less useful. And we're not really sure on the power level of it. It seems to have a slightly higher armor class and a lot more hit points than a lot of the other CR19, but it seems very lacking when it comes to damage.
Other than that breath weapon that can do a crap ton of damage.
Yeah.
Other than that, like I feel like all right, you could begin challenging players at lower levels, be like, all right, how long can you last? And if you give them the ability to kind of do as you would do in a video game style of either respawn or retry kind of thing, I think you could have a little bit of fun and take the video game aspect into the D&D game and see what winds up happening.
Well, I mean, the other thing is though the crystal towers, the end crystal is kind of a cool aspect that you could adopt, and I've done similar things like that in my own games where, like, in order to defeat the big bad or the monster, you have another objective that you have to deal with first. That's like either protecting them or buffing them in some way, and that stuff's always kind of cool to just add into the game, and so it's not just like, I just run up and hit it with my sword. They have to think about tactics and what they
Right.
want to do to kind of overcome and defeat the challenge.
Yeah, a couple weeks ago, we were in a game and we were up against, something, and like tactics had to be used. We weren't playing D&D, but it was, close enough. It was a scenario where there was like a 20-foot chasm between where we were and where essentially the bad guy was. And like you got to figure out how to get over there and how to do all of these things before problems wind up happening. We were essentially on a time crunch. The DM had had dice that we're using like to count down rounds before something happened. It's like, oh man, you got that time crunch, that tension.
What
uh
game was that?
that was the Underdark game when we were running ICRPG.
Okay, okay.
We were fighting a mega flump that was trying to suck all of the oxygen out of the Underdark and kill everything because he was tired of all the evil down there.
It's one way of doing it. Just flush it all out, vacuum style. Oh
I mean,
no,
there's
she's gone from suck to blow.
that comment was made.
Yeah. Listen, anytime you can make Spaceballs references in your D&D game, you're doing it
Indeed. And so all in all, getting tactics into your battle is always a lot of fun, mixing things up and making the players think. It's good stuff.
right. What the hell is Minecraft? It's funny because we like know of Minecraft secondhand. We're like two old guys, right? Like, but like kids are like crazy for Minecraft, the modding and watching other people mod it and play it. And like my son is still plays it. Like all of our nephews play it. I think. Your son, if he doesn't still play it, used to play it.
Oh yeah. I mean, he played it for, quite some time.
So I don't know. Apparently, it's really big with the kids.
And I mean, I applaud, Wizards for, trying to reach out to, new audiences. And sometimes all it's going to take is a little bit of crossover to be like, all right, well, you want to play Minecraft D&D, here's a way we can make that happen. Once they're hooked, then it's like, all right, I've done the work. Now it's up to, the group to find a way to, keep playing or whatnot.
Yeah, well, like we mentioned earlier, like Nate the Nerdarch was doing the same thing with his kids years ago. That's like going back at least 5 years, right?
Yeah.
If not further. So it's not like other players haven't had this idea, and I'm sure there's probably people that probably use Minecraft servers to play games and stuff like that.
I can imagine. I mean, there was so much crossover with, Brian's talking about Parks is talking about Lego. There's so much between Minecraft and D&D and Lego and D&D. I mean, there's groups that literally just, all of the minifigures they make minifigures of their character. So they're always looking for, whenever a new species comes out, it's like, all right, well, what kind of pieces can I use to make that?
Well,
Uh,
wasn't that basically what Brick Warrior was?
what was that?
Brick Warrior, isn't that basically what they were? Like that company, like
Yeah.
they do minifigs, but they were all like fantasy style, or at least they had a lot of selection that were fantasy style with all the weapons and armor and things.
Yes. And I mean, there's that was years ago when I discovered them, but now there's
Now there's official Lego D&D, and I'm sure there's other people too
you still.
that there's other people too. I'm sure that use Legos the way we use minis.
they make monsters, they make dungeon terrain and all kinds of stuff straight up with um uh with that stuff. So it's very easy to go down that rabbit hole if it's a direction that you would enjoy. I like Lego, but not that much. I don't want
That'd be a
to,
lot of work
you know,
building Lego dungeons.
it's a lot of work. So I'm just like, no thanks. I'll use my battle maps for now and my scatter, what
You
have
ever
you.
watch any of those Lego Master shows where there's like they compete and stuff?
Oh yeah, we watched all three seasons. We watched the Christmas special as well, and it's no, it's amazing the stuff that these people do, and like with some of them, as you get near the end, it's like this is a 24-hour build, and I'm like, I don't think there's anything that I like that I want to just do for 24 hours straight. Like I like D&D, but I'm certainly not going to play a 24-hour game. I mean, yeah, you're talking about getting towards the end and you're going to win a whole bunch of money if you're good enough, but still, man, that's a lot.
So Brian Smith says, does Dave have a small golden crown on his noggin? No, it's even better than a crown. It's an Adiug.
It's not even an audio that's really there.
Yeah, it's an illusion Adiug. I don't know if I can reach through or not. Yeah, actually, it's maybe it is really there. No. The magic of green screen. Uh, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't even know if he's still on the set or if he's been rotated out.
Oh, I mean, we've gone through, since that illusion has been crafted, the
Yeah,
set has changed since then.
over and over again.
Um,
And we've peeled,
oh yeah.
you've pierced the veil.
I mean, there's a lot of people that know that we're clearly not in the same space at the moment. But I mean, I call them the shelf guardians. So like usually when we go to do a week's worth of videos, I will trade them out and try to have a revolving, not so much a schedule, but I'll like, oh well, what's going to be on the docket? What might fit or what haven't I used in a while? But I mean, we've gotten stuff that has been sent to us by WizKids or stuff that I've bought that looks cool or things that I've received as gifts from, friends or family. And I just think it's kind of cool to have things and, showcase the different stuffed animals or whatnot that are out there. I meant to grab, the newest one that showed up this particular just a few days ago, WizKids sent us like the big stuffed mimic, and I'm like, yay, I love mimics. So
You can never get too many mimics. So Parks was no little off topic, but have you heard of the Summoner Worlds app? I think I did, Parks, and I think I heard it from you. I downloaded it on my phone, and it really confused me. To be honest with you, I had looked at it and played with it a little bit, and then lost interest quickly. Um, ADHD or something going on there. So we tried a new thing this week and failed epically. So we're trying to do this like long form podcast, right? And we're going to start like breaking our videos out of that. And we're going to stream it live for the patrons, and we might put it up later for everybody else. But we'll do it live. After it gets cleaned up a little bit, and then, but the patrons can get it raw and ugly, and see us make all of our mistakes
and
and do
sooner,
overs. What's that?
and early. So like
Yeah.
we typically from when we film to when a video goes live, usually like a minimum of 10 days because it's got to get the way we were doing it, it would get uploaded, it would get sent to the editor would go through it, we'd then have to or it would be Dave who looks through it to make sure happy with the way it looks. If it's okay, then it can get put into the schedule, blah blah blah, certain that you guys might not care about all of that, but that takes time. uh and now we're looking at, well, if we just kind of do it all live in one take, um then we've got the ability for the patrons, they would be able to see it. It's going to be weird because there's going to be like, nope, sorry, cut, say that again, or what
Yeah.
have you,
Yeah. Also,
because
like,
we are.
well, in addition to all of our screw ups and do overs, one of the ideas too is we won't like take questions while we're doing it. We're not going to really be looking at the chat and the comments, but we'll grab the questions afterwards. So the next time we do one, we could throw like a Q&A section in at the end and go over those questions and discuss them and make them maybe their own video eventually as well. We're always looking at ways to innovate and improve the channel and do things a little bit different and figure out what you guys want, because we've been doing this for like 8 years and I still have no idea what you guys want half the time. So we're always like testing and experimenting to see if we can improve, do things better, streamline things. And this is just part of the evolution. But we had this crazy idea, and we're like, all right, we got the stuff we need, and it should just work. And we're gonna go live with that, and that is not even close to what happened. it was just us like wrapped up in cords, like going, do you think it plugs in here or there?
I mean, we bought some new things to try something different, and it didn't work. So we have to buy yet another thing this week to hopefully try it again. Later this week. I don't know if we're looking for Thursday or Friday, but
Yeah, I think
I'm
we're gonna
certain
try and
Dave will
do
put up.
Friday afternoons, at noon. I know it's not a great time for everybody, but maybe people can like chime in on their lunch break, and also if you're a patron, even if you can't watch live, you'll be able to go back and see the VOD. It'll be unlisted on the channel, so you'll be able to go see it and catch it, and leave your comments or whatever for the Q&A going forward in the future. But hopefully, yeah, hopefully this week it'll actually work and we'll get things going with that. Unfortunately, we wear all the hats and do all the things, and we're not very good at them.
Hats.
All of our hats
Uh,
end up being mimics.
I don't know if it's supposed to be a mimic or a beholder or what have you, but
Oh, your hat's. I think your hat's a beholder, man.
um, I saw this hat. I had to have it, and I don't wear a whole lot of hats on stream, but I felt I was wearing this one today, so I was gonna leave it on and do it up. So I mean we're past the halfway mark. We already mentioned that there's a sponsor. I don't have any particular admin stuff to kind of talk about. Is there anything that you got to put on your?
Just the usual, like as far as I know, there's still some spots left at D&D in the castle. Link is in the description. You can check that out. I think there's a coupon code in there. There is one floating around. But you can check that out, and if you want to play D&D in a castle with myself or Ted, this would be your opportunity to do such.
Yeah, it's an absolute blast of a time. You've probably unless this is your first time catching it, that we've talked about it numerous times. It's an amazing experience, and there's going to be a lot of awesome people there. Like I myself am looking forward to just some of the guests that are going to be there. So if you can make that happen, it's going to be a ton of fun.
Yeah, I think I have to fix the links. I think they're broken for some reason. Uh,
Uh-oh.
but we'll get them fixed and put in there. You can always go to the D&D in the Castle website and check that out as well. Ted's been there twice. I've been there twice. It's quite the experience. It's a little costly, but most things
It's
in
worth
life,
it in the end.
most things that are worthwhile in life are, unfortunately.
If you're into streamed games, please go check out the season finale or the series finale of Untraditionally Arcane. We wrapped that game up this past Friday night. Went a little bit longer than I had planned. But all in all, everybody had a ton of fun, and we got to tie that up quite nicely and a little bit differently than what I had planned. But sometimes when you're dealing with a chaos crew, that's how it's got to work.
So, kind of circling back to the Minecraft creatures,
Hmm.
are any of them standing out to you that you might use in your game?
So the one that I like the most is going to be the blaze, the elemental creature. Um, you know, I feel that the blaze rods could be something that would be pretty cool to be able to put in there. I closed the window because I thought we were done with it, and connection was being told that I'm unstable. So I was trying to get rid of all the extra open windows.
Yeah, yeah,
But the creature that is the blaze that can hover to like it flies straight up.
yeah. That's the Blaze.
Yeah, so I feel like that one could also be as opposed to an elemental, that could totally be like a spellcaster. And as I'm not spoiling anything because it's in the trailer, but like, when Safina, rises up to do her magic in Honor Among Thieves, like you could have that kind of thing where like, all right, the spellcaster, gets wreathed in flames and floats up and begins just summoning fire from above. I think that would be kind of a cool thing, and all you're doing is just respecking the visuals of what it looks like.
Well, even just like the Blaze's rods, like you could even like without using the monster, just kind of throw them in as treasure.
Hmm. I mean, a handful of the things that are there, function as treasure and drops and what have you. So like, I feel like there's I mean, it's Minecraft, so I know there's already an economy at work, but like you can see that built within, the aspects of these stat blocks, which is something that I really, really enjoyed, to have that. And a couple of them are like, all right, the dragon, it dies, it drops the egg. The Enderman, if you roll a 10 or higher, it's gonna drop the pearl. The blaze, it's got a 50% chance of dropping that rod. So you've got set things that are there, and I'm like, all right, this is kind of nifty. Like, if you kill the creeper, you can take the head and do whatever you want with it. I don't think it had a gold piece value, but it's there.
I do like kind of like the idea of foreshadowing, the creepers by like having their heads around and the players could collect them if they want to. And I do
Mm-hmm.
like the idea of kind of giving it ability like if you put the creeper head on, then creepers don't acknowledge you as a humanoid like they normally would. They just consider you another creeper, so you can use the sneak past a bunch of them.
I think that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it would make for you can make for some interesting encounters, especially if you like do like the foreshadowing and put it in the game, and then your players don't grab it, and then they realize later,
That
after they've been exploded on by 15 creepers.
that would be like, oh man, I wish I had the damn thing.
Yeah, or I like the idea of maybe using the blaze rods to power something
Yes.
as
Uh,
almost like a fuel source.
well, I mean, beyond fuel source, like I was thinking about like, how cool would it be for the Under the Dome game to like attach those things to the bikes?
So you can blow your bikes up.
Well, I mean, if you try and break them, but I just meant like as a light source, like
Oh, like running lights.
yeah.
Yeah. I can see giving it to the players, and they're like, "This is great," and then something happens, and one of them breaks, it explodes.
Well, I mean, with that particular party, we might not think like, oh, you have to be aware of this like that. We're morons.
Yeah.
Cool, do it.
Well, I could definitely see some crazy shenanigans happening in that group. After, especially if they have a bunch of them on one of the bikes, being like, "Okay, we really turning the bike into a bomb."
Well, we have that extra bike now.
That's true. That's true. The bomb bike. So we got some D&D in this weekend.
I mean,
You got a lot of D&D in this weekend,
I,
right?
I mean, it was. I got 3 games in over the last 3 days, though one of them was Kids on Bikes.
Okay.
If you're not aware, if you do watch games, a few weeks ago we started a Kids on Bikes game over on Mini Terrain Domain with Jake from MTD as our DM. Usually keep my character sheet here, is going to pull it up, but it's been moved. But you can totally go ahead and check that out if you're into a game set in 1980 something with us exploring some kind of Stranger Things vibes.
How do you like that system so far?
So far I dig it. It's you still use like the full poly set. You have 6 stats throughout the game, and they're assigned to each of the essentially the 6 primary dice, d20, d10, d12, d6, d8, and d4. And then like your trope figures out where things go. So when you have to make a check, so like grit, do you have the stick to itiveness to keep going? You roll that whatever your grit die is, and you'll either meet or not whatever the DC is. But every die in that game can explode. So, oh well, I once had a I don't know, I don't remember what my D4 stat was, but I had to make that check, and I rolled 443. So my stat's only a D4, but I got an 11 on a check. So like I've done pretty well with that system so far.
Yeah.
Where, it's another one of these where when you fail, you don't get XP, but you get an adversity token, which allows you to do better on a later roll, which can be fun.
Kind of like Karma in the Easy D6 system.
Yeah. So it's definitely been enjoyable the way we're playing. There's not a whole lot of dice rolling. I've played 3 sessions now. I think we've had 4, and I've probably had less than half a dozen die rolls.
And what does that system do well? Would you say?
Um, it gives the ability to have a wide array of, well, like for my character, his trope is scout, so he's really smart. So I have a D20 in intelligence essentially, and so therefore a lot of times I'm gonna pass brains rolls because a 10 is considered a really good roll.
Mm-hmm.
You can take half your die if you don't feel like rolling. So if I want to be like, yeah, I got this, if I don't think it's going to be, a high DC, I can just be like, yeah, I got it. It's a 10.
Are the DCs hidden?
Yes. There's times I'll be like, oh, well, that's a low check. So I'm like, all right, well, that means, it should be doable. And it's probably anywhere from a 3 to a 5, which means, if you've got those higher dice, you can just be like, I'll take half and, you should be good. But it gives you that range, whereas like, all right, every character is going to have something that they can be bad at, but if the dice go well, you can manage to succeed. But we're doing a very RP heavy, very you've got to take the bait on the problems. And for those of us who are around in the 80s, it's set up like you're not going to go talk to adults about things. This is your problem. You've left your grandparents' house on a Saturday morning, and you just got to be back at the end of the day. So like we're doing a whole Charlie Brown thing where the adults are talking. It's like wah 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 kind of deal. So we're having a lot of fun with it. My character, I wound up missing session 3, and he has no recollection of what actually transpired, even though he did stuff. So it's like, yay.
The thing with exploding dice, like the smaller the die is, the easier it is for it to explode.
Yes.
Rolling, maxing out a D4. is a lot easier than maxing out a D20. Although we have seen it happen
Oh
at
yeah.
the table. I mean, just this weekend, even though it wasn't an exploding die system, 3D20 rolls in a row were 20s.
Yep.
In a system like that, that would be a 60. And we've seen that with Open Legend at our
Yes.
table
Right.
for like a very innocuous, not that important roll.
It was like a knowledge check, and Ryan rolled a 71. It's like, holy shit.
And the GM is like, I'm not sure what to do with this. You rolled really good. Something should happen. But also, this doesn't matter that much.
You tell me. You have seen through the verse. You have all of knowledge.
Yeah. So, I mean, exploding dice systems are fun, but they can really get kind of wonky.
Well, I mean, it all depends upon, whether the system has degrees of success. And I haven't peeked behind the curtain with Kids on Bikes. I don't even have like the rule set. It's literally just, you tell me what I need to do, and after we've had, a little bit of time to play, I'll, my rule book will show up, and I'll learn a little bit more. But if, sometimes when you've got degrees of success, that can be like, all right, well, once you cross a certain threshold, it doesn't matter how high you go. Like, in a game where a 5 can pass a check, is anything over a 50 necessary? Like, if you roll that 20 and then natural 20 and then you get a 10, like, does it matter? Like, you've succeeded at whatever it was.
Yeah.
Just on from there.
But it's just fun from the standpoint of like we're nerds and we like to roll dice.
Oh, 100%. Like, I'm waiting for those kind of shining moments to happen at the table, just because when that happens, everybody can get excited about it, regardless of what the actual check is.
So Parks had asked a question earlier. I think I'll grab real quick.
Sure.
Do you all ever do a video stream of you at D&D in a castle? We have not yet thus far, just because one, it means hauling all of our gear across the pond. Two, we're not that techy, so doing things on the fly like that is not particularly easy for us. At least not at the quality we do. Maybe from our phones or something, we could possibly do something like that this time around. I had suggested to them like probably a while ago, like why don't they do a stream game from the castle, like, and try and like get invite people in to watch a game happen in the castle. But it has not happened yet. And now they actually have the official D&D logo, which brings a lot of baggage with it. Like
Yes.
you get to use the ampersand, which is kind of cool, but also that means Hasbro has to be very involved in what you're doing and how you do things, and there becomes a lot more rules.
And when you look at, like our experience of, not necessarily the castle, but the experience of what we've done at our tables, and like we put up our home games, for a little while, and it definitely puts another layer of stress and puts players up on the internet that, they might not necessarily want to be there. So if someone's paying for, this premier GM experience, are they going to get some kind of discount for, it being streamed, or like some other kind of compensation? So like it enters into this whole, conundrum situation.
Well, I didn't take it as like streaming the actual like games there, but like when I said like they could stream a game, I more or less meant like something extra in addition to everything else that's going on. No, you definitely wouldn't want to do that with with basically your customers.
Right. And that's where I was kind of getting to, of like,
it's not weird. You're our customers, and also now you're performers, kind of.
Yeah. And you never know like what the table is going to do or say, and we've seen all kinds of things at our table with people that are our friends. And it's like, it's easier just to be like, we're gonna unplug from this concept. So,
well, yeah, when you're doing a stream game, like you have to do that with intention, and like you essentially should be casting
Mm-hmm.
and getting the right people to do it, because it's not the same as just playing a game at home with your friends. I mean, our games tend to be a little bit more relaxed, um, but even still, we do think about casting and who we want to actually put on video, and is this going to be entertaining, um, and what works on a stream as opposed to at your home table. They're not necessarily the same stuff.
Indeed.
So you said your son was reading over your shoulder. You think he
Yes.
wants to play some Minecraft D&D mashups?
Well, that's going to be a conversation to be had. I know we had brought up the Minecraft stuff a couple of weeks ago
You get
when
all the nephews together.
it first dropped. I mean, I've got most of them in my in my one game
Yeah.
already. It would just be your son to be added into the mix. Um, but like it kind of went in one ear and out the other until an hour and a half ago, where it's like, oh shit, I need to read these things real quick.
Yeah.
So it's going to be probably a topic of conversation tomorrow of like, all right, what do you think of Minecraft and D&D? Is it chocolate and peanut butter, or is this something else?
Is there any crossovers that you would like to see that come
Uh
to mind?
you're putting me on the spot. uh
Um,
nothing immediately you know uh jumps. um but I'm certain if I thought about it, you
what
know
about you, Chad? What do you think? What would be a good crossover for D&D to bring into the game? I mean, I would love to have seen the Rune Terror stuff explored more, especially after the animated stuff that Netflix put on,
mhm.
which was really good. And I really do like the way they do the Magic Tech stuff. I'm definitely taking inspiration from that
Mhm.
in the Under the Dome game that we're playing now, that I'm running for you guys. Uh, the whole concept of grind basically is like
Right.
Magic Tech, basically.
Yep.
So it's like the pro the problem always with like too much magic in the world, and like where me and Nate would like always disagree on things, is like once you do that, it gets industrialized, right, to a
Right.
certain extent, and then it's not really magic anymore.
Right.
And that's exactly what we're doing now, kind of like to a lesser degree.
Mhm.
I think like Eberron's like that too. Like I've heard Eberron describe that like the magic is broad and wide but not deep, in the sense that there's a lot of it and it's got a lot of like far reaching uses, but it's not like super powerful magic. Like that's still kind of restricted.
Mhm.
Like the mage rights aren't casting fireballs and disintegrate, the more powerful spells, but they're able to do like the little tinkery stuff. And
Yep.
every street corner has a ever burning torch on it, and things like sending stones, or to a lesser degree like the lightning rail, where it's there and it's in use, but only certain people have real access to it and can
Right.
kind of control it.
And that adds a layer of fun, and that's something that I've kind of adapted into my Swampgate game. And we kind of talked about here about its origins with the Vargarian ship that was the end all be all of your first 5e game that you ran here at the table. So like there's a lot of fun elements that I'm kind of pouring into my world, or our world. My
Yeah, like because it's kind of fun. I guess we discussed it and talked about it, where like what's left of the Vargarians has almost become like these like pockets of virus that can
Mhm.
infect other things, right? But not enough of it's together to really bring back the level of Vargarian threat that once was. But maybe if someone gathered enough of it together, you know,
And
they could do
in my head canon, like you know there are other Vargarians that are out there. We had a mothership that landed and crashed essentially. But I would imagine, just like the Borg, there's more out there.
yeah.
And I teased that in my one game, where like you heard Vargarians talking about, attacking this sector and attacking that sector and what have you. And it was, just fun to be like, all right, let's see what kind of threat analysis they do with any of this. And it was, only you and Ryan who would have had any real acknowledgement of it. But it kind of went in one ear and out the other. And
Well, I think with stuff like that, sometimes it's like player knowledge versus
sure, well,
character knowledge.
it was meant for literally a Dave and Ryan reaction.
Yeah,
Yeah,
an Easter egg
yeah.
just for us. Oh, that's special. Park says Super Mario Bros. Would be cool for the items. Each eat a flower. You can throw a small fireball once around for a minute. Grab a leaf and turn it into a flying raccoon dog. Don't forget those mushrooms, man. Those magic mushrooms that make you giant, or star
Well,
power that makes you invulnerable.
all right. So like the star power for invulnerability, I'd have to look and see what's there. The fire flower, that's easy. It's like dragon's breath and it's limited to fire. Unless you wanted to have other type of flowers that did the other elements, your magic mushroom could clearly be just enlarge. Um, the raccoon tail could be like a transformative, but could very well just be fly. Um, so like they're really easy to do, and they would be consumable items like a potion that kind of already exists. So that would be super easy, low hanging fruit on that kind of stuff.
Boom, done. Ted's done with it. So we are just at the hour mark now. So it is that time where we're going to head out. But we will be back Tuesday night with another episode of Zoo Mafia, where we're gonna go wild, do crime, but hopefully the humans don't catch us.
Yeah, do crime, date episode part 2.
There's been a lot of dating in this campaign for some reason. I never expected it. But listen, we're doing it for a good cause. Crime.
Sure. You got 3 episodes left, and if you don't make a move, I will, and it might be blood on the walls.
Yeah, we'll be sleeping with the fishes for sure. With that, until next time, stay nerdy.
Stay nerdy.